You know that feeling, the small, quiet relief when a teammate nods at your point, when your name is remembered at the coffee station, when an idea isn't interrupted. In work life, belonging shapes how you contribute, whether you raise your hand, and how long you stay engaged. This is a film about that quiet architecture of inclusion, the moments, the theories, and the everyday practices that either build or erode your sense of being part of the team. You arrive at the building the same way most days, badge scanned, elevator hum, briefcase or bag slid onto the shoulder. The lobby smells faintly of coffee and cleaning solution. You walk past faces you recognize, and a few you don't. Some make eye contact, others stay focused on their phones. At your desk, you set your things down in the same place. Straighten a photo frame, power up the laptop. Small rituals like this anchor the day. They help you feel at home, in a place that for many adults is where they spend a majority of their waking hours. Work arrives in familiar patterns. Calendar invites, a flurry of emails, a meeting that runs long, a report that needs polishing. You listen, type, and respond. You take notes in a neat stack, glance up when someone asks a question, and try to contribute without derailing the flow. Inclusion rarely announces itself with fanfare. It appears in routine interactions, a colleague who follows up on your point, a manager who checks your workload, a peer who asks for your take. These tiny affirmations either accumulate into confidence or, when absent, into a steady sense of distance. Sometimes you sit in a meeting and feel the air of omission. Others speak with ease. You choose not to interrupt. Maybe you rehearse a contribution in your head but then tuck it away. Your body tightens. You glance down at notes. Uncertainty about belonging prompts self-monitoring. You silently run through explanations. Maybe they didn't notice. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe your point will be better received later. This hesitancy is a real response to the social cues in a room. Over time, it influences not only participation, but also how you view your role within the organization. Across the table, a subgroup forms naturally. Laughter clusters at one end of the room. Names get used more readily. Some people are routinely recognized, others are passed over. You notice who gets follow-up emails and who's left off the thread. These informal cues shape the invisible architecture of belonging. Who feels safe to speak, who's seen as an author of ideas, and who is treated as peripheral. A team's culture is not written in policy documents alone. It's enacted in the subtle flow of attention. On a slow afternoon, there's an opening in a meeting. You gather yourself and share a concise idea, a small suggestion on process, a tweak to language, a new angle on a project. The stakes feel higher than you would expect. If it's received with warmth, it's reinforcing. If it's brushed aside, it sets a tone. What happens next matters. An acknowledgement, a brief follow-up, or a visible adoption of the suggestion signals inclusion. Silence or dismissal sends a different message, and your next attempt might be softer, or you might decline to try at all. Later, you have a one-on-one with your supervisor. The conversation may be about deliverables, career trajectory, or a check-in on workload. A manager's language often determines whether you feel integrated into the team's future. Simple things matter, whether your manager asks for your perspective, whether they credit your contributions in group settings, whether they offer concrete support. Leadership behavior is a consistent amplifier. It can either validate your presence or make you feel like an afterthought. After the meeting, you take a moment at your desk to review notes. Alone with your thoughts, you try to interpret the interactions of the day. These reflections are where meaning is made. You weigh the cues, who acknowledged you, who didn't, who called you by name. You decide whether your experiences reflect a temporary pattern or a persistent dynamic. That internal narration influences your confidence and how you'll engage tomorrow. When belonging is present, collaboration looks different. People speak up with the expectation of being heard. Ideas travel quickly because individuals feel safe to propose, refine, and challenge without fear of social penalty. You notice a shared rhythm, questioning, listening, iterating. The team moves beyond minimum exchanges to creative exchange, and you find yourself staying after a formal meeting to clarify a point or offer help. This reciprocal flow becomes its own engine for inclusion. Now step back for a moment and connect these lived moments to a broader body of research. Psychologists have long considered belonging to be more than a pleasant workplace outcome. It's a core human motivation that affects health, cognition, and decision-making. The patterns you experience at work mirror findings from decades of research. When people feel connected, they show better mental health, higher motivation, and greater pro-social behavior. The workplace is simply one context where the fundamental human need to belong plays out with very practical consequences. Abraham Maslow placed social belonging above basic physiological and safety needs, and beneath esteem and self-actualization. In his framework, once food, shelter, and security are reasonably met, relationships become central. For an adult in mid-career, belonging is the connective tissue between competency and growth. When you feel included, the space opens for esteem to develop, recognition, respect, and ultimately the pursuit of meaningful work. Roy Baumeister and Mark Leary articulated the need to belong as a fundamental human drive. People require frequent, positive, and stable interactions to maintain psychological equilibrium. They argued that belonging is not only a momentary preference but a sustained requirement. When it's lacking, people experience real cognitive and emotional costs. In the workplace, stable, positive interactions translate into trust, reciprocal support, and the sense that colleagues are reliable anchors in daily life. One of the most practical tools you can use to build belonging is the micro-affirmation. These are small, specific acts of recognition that signal inclusion. A quick thank you for a contribution, repeating and crediting someone's idea, inviting a quieter teammate to share their perspective, or following up on a suggestion with a short message. Micro-affirmations are easy to practice, low cost, and cumulative. They work because they directly address the social cues that either confirm or deny someone's place in a group. Imagine a conversation where people routinely name each other's contributions. A colleague paraphrases your point and builds on it. A manager checks in by email after a meeting to say, "I appreciated your insight on X, can we talk more?" These gestures change the internal calculation you make about whether to engage. Applied inclusion looks like consistent small actions that invite participation and show attention. Over time, these add up to trust, and that trust makes teams more resilient and creative. Organizations often have formal inclusion efforts, training modules, policies, employee resource groups. These matter. They create structures and signal commitment. Yet the day-to-day experience of belonging depends on interpersonal behavior. Training can teach people why inclusion matters, but it's the micro-actions who gets acknowledged in the meeting, who receives a follow-up, that determine whether employees actually feel included. Policies set the stage. Human interactions create the play. HR and leadership can design programs that help, such as mentorship initiatives, inclusive hiring practices, and bias awareness. Those initiatives surface important needs and lead to system-level improvements. But formal programs often compete with the rhythms of daily work, without reinforcement at the line level. In team rituals, meeting conduct, and informal recognition, even the best policies can feel hollow. Informal culture is powerful because it is lived. It shows up in who gets invited to lunch, who's asked for input on a project, and who's routinely thanked for their help. These everyday patterns either normalize inclusion or maintain exclusion. You can feel the difference. An inclusive, informal culture invites risk-taking and collaboration, and excluding one promotes guarded behavior and isolation. Belonging is not uniform across a company. It fluctuates by team, role, and leadership style. You may feel deeply included in one project team and simultaneously peripheral in another. Organizational change, new leadership, and shifting team compositions all influence belonging. Recognize this complexity. Belonging is dynamic. It requires ongoing attention, not a one-time fix. So what can you do right now to increase belonging where you work? Start with micro-affirmations. They're practical, immediate, and repeatable. Offer specific praise. "I liked how you framed that client's concern. It helped me see the issue differently." When someone raises an idea, paraphrase it and credit them. "Maria suggested we try X, and that could help with Y." Invite quieter voices with explicit prompts. "Alex, I'd love your perspective on this." These small interventions shift norms and model inclusive behavior for others. Recognition begets reciprocity. When you acknowledge someone's effort, you encourage a culture where people look for contributions and return the favor. Reciprocity strengthens trust and reduces the social risk of speaking up. Over time, teams that practice mutual recognition are better at adapting, sharing knowledge, and sustaining morale through stressful periods. The energy costs of inclusion are low. The returns are substantial. Leaders have a distinct role. Their behavior sets expectations and models language for others. A manager who consistently names contributions, checks in on development, and allocates credit publicly communicates that people matter. Leaders don't need grand gestures. Consistent, small acts are often the most powerful. They create a climate where inclusion is the default rather than the exception. When you tie Maslow's model and Baumeister's need to belong to practical behaviors, a clear pathway emerges. Attend to daily social cues. Use micro-affirmations and reinforce those behaviors through leadership modeling and systems that support inclusion. This integrated approach makes belonging a routine practice rather than a reactive program. It moves inclusion from the margins into the fabric of daily work. Belonging at work matters because it affects how people engage, create, and stay. Small actions add up. A single micro-affirmation can alter someone's internal script, nudging them from hesitation toward participation. Over months and years, those nudges shape careers and team outcomes. If you leave here with one practical intention, let it be this: notice someone today and name the value they brought. That tiny move matters more than you might think. The ideas here are grounded in well-established work. Maslow's hierarchy helps us understand where belonging sits among human needs. Baumeister and Leary's research articulates the importance of stable, positive relationships for psychological health. Combine those insights with everyday practices like micro-affirmations, and you have both a theory and a toolkit for more humane, effective workplaces. Keep noticing, keep naming, and let small, consistent acts of recognition accumulate into real belonging.